Welcome to Vyom Labs webinar Implementing ITIL Product First or Process First. The points which we are going to discuss during this presentation are implementation of ITIL, various stages involved in that, whether process will come first or product will come first in an ITIL implementation, phased implementation approach, and what are the low-hanging fruits in an ITIL implementation. And in the end, we are going to take one example of a solution which has ITIL processes in a box. Here we will talk about BMC Remedy ITSM solution. In an ITIL implementation, there are various aspects one need to worry about. More importantly, that the ITIL implementation is an organization-wide initiative. There are people involved, there are processes involved, and there are products involved. So one need to be careful and knowledgeable when they are taking this journey. As you all know, the ITIL version 3, there are 5 core books: service strategy, service design, service transition, service operation, and continual service improvement. These books present the guidelines. They don't provide implementation details, right? So when one is taking the ITIL initiative, then what are the typical stages through which the project goes? The slides talk about that. There are 4 stages, and then there is a continual improvement cycle which you have to go through. So the first stage is assessment, second is planning, third is implementation, fourth is manage. We'll go a little bit in more detail on these various stages of ITIL implementation cycle. In an assessment phase, what you typically do is you do a gap analysis, benchmark against the ITIL processes, what processes which you follow in your organization, and compare those with ITIL good practices and come up with a gap analysis report. In this phase, either you can involve the external consultants who have done the ITIL implementations, or few of your senior team members who have gone through advanced ITIL trainings and have experience of designing the processes will do the assessment phase and come up with a report which can be presented to the management and basically get the management commitment on the ITIL initiative. The next stage is you do ITSM planning. It's called as ITSM planning phase. In this phase, you define and document processes through various workshops which you conduct internally. You provide training to your staff on foundation or higher level of ITIL courses. If you are going for ISO 20000 audit, then you will additionally provide training on the process and audits so that your team will be able to do internal audits. In the implementation phase, what you typically do is have the technology implemented, have the customizations done in the technology or the products which you choose based on what processes are defined in the earlier phase, and define the responsibilities and roles of people who will be part of ITIL implementation. In the manage phase, you will have the ITIL implementation going into production, in the sense that it is organization wide implemented and you are there to find service improvement areas, fine tune the reporting, etc. And then you go to a phase called as continual improvement, and in this phase it's a continuous cycle. You go from one maturity level to another maturity level by having this approach of PDCA. You identify the quick wins, go into the planning of that, implementing those, identifying the results, and again going into basically having a culture of continual service improvement, and within your organization is institutionalized through this phase. We have seen the various phases through which the ITIL project goes, and we have seen that the technology is talked about in the implementation phase. Is this a right approach? So my question to you is, when do you introduce the product during the ITIL projects? Should they be introduced at the assessment phase, at the planning phase, or at the implementation phase? We at Viome Labs, we suggest that earlier you choose the product or a technology, it is better. Why it is better? Because it helps you avoid the costly customizations in the tool which you choose. It helps you avoid reinventing the wheel in terms of designing the processes. It reduces the time to implement ITIL in your organization, and it reduces the risk because all of the points which I discussed. So our suggestion is, earlier you choose the product or the technology, it is better. We'll talk about in little more detail in further slides on why to choose product first.